Welcome to season 3. And as soon as I can get this to clear off of my screen, I will start the new intro. And here we go. And welcome to the premiere episode of Riding Through the Well, actually, not even that. Oh, this is going to be a fun night.
Take 2.
Welcome to the premiere episode of The Energy That Surrounds Us, season 3. And what a way to start. So, welcome to the joys of live shows. What can I say?
I don't know.
But with that being said, I am excited for this season, and I could not think of a better person to start this off with. And so I'm going to turn it over to my guest, who many of you probably recognize. And those of you who don't, I'm sure you will very soon. So, with that being said, I give you the one, the only amazing, talented, epic reader, Tammy Christine Raydon.
Aw, so very kind. Listen to you. So sweet. By the way, congratulations on season 3. And your new intro is amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah, I like it. I like the water effect.
I know. Isn't that cool?
That is cool. So how have you been?
I've been really good. And how have you been?
I have also been good. Got
Weather
through
in
the
the cold?
It's everything has a season and a reason, so we just keep pedaling along day by day, right?
Right. Did you guys get snow yet?
We had a flurry. So, I was super excited just to get a little tiny bit of, flurries coming down. I know where you are and where I am, we're supposed to have a winter storm watch Thursday night, I think.
We are.
So we will see how that goes. We just typically in Oklahoma, we will get like ice, and that is just the worst. So we like to avoid the ice at all costs. The snow is okay, and we typically don't get so much that we can't get around, but the ice is always bad. So hopefully no ice.
Right. And one of the things too that we're having to deal with here is because, like, right now it's 31 degrees, which is below the freezing temp.
Right.
So we have our faucets that are on the exterior walls dripping and cabinets open so that the hot air will keep the pipes nice and toasty.
Oh, yeah. Super important. Super important. And I mean, we have all of our bathrooms are exterior walls as well. So we have to do the same thing. And we even have like one of our showers in the master shower, we have to actually put a heater, like a little portable heater when it gets cold in there, because the pipes have frozen on us before, and it's not good. Like it hasn't been a problem. They haven't burst, but we've definitely had turned it on, nothing, and been like, oh crud. So
Yeah. We we one year had it so cold that we thought it would be smart to pond the bathtub with warm water.
mm,
And so then when it was the next day, we would just dump the water through, refill it. Well, we kind of found out the drain kind of froze, and so we were like, it wasn't draining, and so we were like, oh
no.
boy, it finally let loose, and was like, oh,
Oh,
thank goodness we didn't have any big plumbing issues, but it was like, yeah, and they were like, nope, don't pond water. You gotta keep it dripping and you gotta keep it in motion. So we're like, okay.
right, right. Hey, Marilyn, how are you, sweetheart? Hey, Robert. I know those folks.
I'm gonna say your audience is tuned in tonight.
If you guys are here, say hi in the chat so I can see you, so we know you are here. What do you want to talk about, Michael? We have so much to do.
Well, as I was doing an interview earlier and they were asking me, like, what have you been up to since we last talked? And I was like, that's a good question. And so I'm going to ask that question of you and say, what have you been up to since
Oh my goodness.
4 5?
Just do, honestly, I've been court reporters, and I'm a court reporter, that's what I do for career, but we are always usually like slammed at the holidays. Everybody wants everything by December 31st. And then, it's like a new year starts over. So dealing with all of that, and then all my private readings and doing all of that, it was the end of the year was just moving very quickly. And I do and I know Marilyn and Robert know this, but I do a What's in the Box Wednesday, and then it's a remote view exercise, and it's in a private group, the Warren Legacy Psychic Support Group, of which I am part of the Warren Legacy Foundation. And we do that remote view on Wednesdays, and then we reveal on Saturdays. And everybody kind of it's a very, casual type remote viewing thing. There's no wrong answers. It's a safe place to come practice. You don't have to worry about people going, oh, they didn't get it right, or you don't have to worry in this group. It's a very supportive group for people that have abilities. So if there's anyone out in the viewer listening audience that has abilities, psychic abilities, mediumship abilities, any kind of sensitives, empaths, anything like that whatsoever, or perhaps you just feel like you are one, it's a good group to join, just to get some support and some backbone and some information. And we have guides that are set up in there that kind of help. And then we have admin people that help and answer questions. And it's a really good group. But I did a whole series toward the end of December, where we basically did a crystal in the box, and they had to, and I gave them like some very simple clues, and they had to basically remote view what was in there. And we added this little extra special thing, and I like created basically a wheel of names, and whoever got it close, got their name on the wheel. And then we did like a little drawing. It was really fun for the holidays, just to kind of do something and give back, and just have a little fun. So I've been busy with lots of stuff like that, doing a lot of just give backs and honoring people, and helping to educate and also advise and guide folks that need it. So it takes up a lot of my time, and I do it volunteer, with the Warren Legacy Foundation, but in within that group all the time. So it's a big deal to me to help and give back. And I tried to focus my last couple of months of November and December on doing just that, is just being there for people. So
Well, and
that's
I
what
can
I've been
say
doing.
with full confidence, she does, and she did.
I try. No one has all the answers and nobody's perfect, but I certainly try to help where I can. So
Yeah. And it's not often that I will say this or anything, but if you have any questions of loved ones that have passed or anything, Tammy is incredible.
aw, thank
I
you. That's sweet.
I have had
I
two
love
readings
that, but it
with
is
her,
a world.
and so I'm speaking from experience. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I know. I've read for Michael and his mom, and it was really beautiful. It was beautiful. Um, I can't describe to you. It's hard to put into words the feeling that doing readings for people and giving them comforting and healing and loving messages from their loved ones that have departed this world, it brings me so much joy. Um, and I walk away, I have to be honest with you, I walk away almost each individual time going, what just happened? Hey, Tabitha. I walk away literally going, wait a minute. How did I just, where did that come from? What in the world? Like every single time. But yet again, I know that it's spirit and I know that I am serving spirit, and that's why it's working, because I have pure intention. I have that heart of gold wanting to do that. Um, I, I've come up, it's funny, Michael. I've come up with this little thing, and I know a lot of mediums out there do the same thing I do, but I have kind of a little, and I don't have to do it, but I have a little ritual if I have the time and I'm able, and I try to make it a thing. But I literally go to the spirit world. I talk to my guides, my angels, my ancestors before I do every single reading. And I have, hey, Tracy, I have some songs that I play to get my vibrations, high. And I go to my pendulum and I actually like usher my guides in and communicate with them and tell them exactly what we're doing today and could they be there, help me to understand references that they are giving me for the sitter so that this can be good. And then I do the reading, and then after the reading I even have a whole nother song that I'll go play for thanking them. So it's like you have to, I feel like you really have to, hey Jen, I really feel like you have to have that open line of communication with them all the time. You must communicate, you have to do that, like to have that strong bond. um and it's funny because if I don't do that, I will feel like I'm like, oh, wait, what? I didn't do something, but I can still read. It's not like I can't do it because I didn't do that little thing beforehand. But I do feel like you have a stronger connection if you take the time and you really devote it and connect with your spirit guides, communicate with your spirit guides, get to know your spirit guides, get to know your angels, know these things. And no one can tell you out there, just in the viewer listening world right now, no one can tell you that's not your angel or that's not your guide. If you believe it is, that's your intuition, that's your gut feeling. You just know that, okay? Just know it.
Right. And it's also important that I like how you said you at the end have a certain song and a way to release, because there's a little hint to what I'm going with this is when you're doing back to back readings,
Yep.
if you don't break that connection, so to speak, it could bleed into the next person's and they're going to be like, none of this is making sense. And you're like, oh, whoops.
Yep.
That was previous. I'm sorry. And
Very
just,
true. Very true. You have to learn how to cut ties, so to speak, with the energy. And it's sometimes, let me tell you, that it's sometimes very difficult. It is very difficult. First of all, on one hand, you may have a spirit that doesn't want to leave. They were so excited to be there. They got so much information to their loved one, but they're just not ready to go. They're like, no, I have more to say. And, for instance, your father was one of those. Okay. We talked about that. And
yep.
yeah, and after the reading, I was like, okay, he doesn't want to. And I was text messaging you because I was like, he doesn't want to go, but we're going to do this again. So he's okay. But, sometimes they don't want to. And you have to learn still how to take that energy and tell them, like, it's okay. This isn't the end. This isn't the last time. We're going to be okay. You're going to be back. It's all right. Just, we'll do this again. It's okay. Let go. But I've had that happen before. And I've also had many times where, they come back later, or it's the next day and you're feeling that same energy again, that same energy pattern. And you're like, okay, you know what? You can be here. This is fine. But it's not time right now. So, could you come back Tuesday at 7? No.
No, but that brings up an interesting question. And this was kind of what I was hinting at earlier with my prior comment is when you're doing a gallery session, how do
Mhm.
you clear the message when you're done with the one person for the next person? Because it's running in such a fluid motion. It's like you don't see that breakage point to where you're like, okay, she's
Right.
done with that person. Okay, I can see it now. She's going on to the next person. So how do you handle that?
So I personally myself, what I have learned to do, and I didn't start out. Here's the other thing. Here's the other piece. I didn't start out doing the things I do now when I first started. And I am certain that I have changed the way that I do things as I develop as well. It's always a moving target. So what I would say is if it feels right, it's right. If it doesn't feel right, it's not. It's that one little rule right there in itself will help to deal with anything like that of a switching of energies. But I have come up with this little thing that I've done, and I know this is like really silly, but I have a Numite bracelet, and it's black. Numite is a black, very protective stone, and it's incredibly grounding. When I purchased it at the store in Denver, the lady had it like behind the counter for her energy workers, and I said, I really, really am interested in something like a Numite bracelet or something to help me to ground between. And this was the reason that I asked for it, was exactly what you're talking about. And she said, oh, are you an energy worker? And I said, yes, I am. And she said, okay. She goes, I kind of reserve these for my healers, energy workers, because they're super strong. And she said, but let me get them out. And I purchased one. And I kid you not, I put that thing on, and it was like I just felt the energy go whoop, and just drop. And I was like, okay, this is good. This is perfect. So when I did my last gallery, I tried out my theory and I wore that bracelet. And as I would conclude with one individual, I would just in my mind's eye think about that energy from the help of the Numite bracelet. Think of the energy just going whoosh and going straight out my body through the ground, allowing space for the next one to come in.
Very cool. And
Just kind of a third eye, mechanism to a visualization as well as a feeling, as being clairsentiently sending the energy down and out the ground.
yeah. So what's going to be fun is we get to watch to see you do that on the 15th of February.
That is true. And I know Jen Rose is watching, and I will be with Jen Rose on February 15th. Hi Tabitha. That's awesome. Instant ground. It is Tabitha. And I mean, get one Numite bracelet. If you're an energy worker, you should have one because they're amazing. Yes. So Jen Rose and I will be doing a gallery reading online February 15th. Whoop, whoop. I think Michael's going to be there.
I am.
And it'll be from 2 to 4 Eastern Standard Time. Online, it's called Connections of the Heart. And the tickets are on sale right now at Eventbrite. And we're doing kind of a cool thing too, where we are offering a 2-for-1, meaning if you have a spouse or perhaps a daughter or a son or someone that lives right there in your house with you, or that could, even if it's like your daughter and she lives down the street, she could come over. If you're together, then you can buy one ticket for 40 and it ends up being 20 a piece. So, but you have to kind of be like in the same location, in the same home to get that 2-for deal. And then you're just buying one $40 ticket and it's 20 a piece if you're together. But if it's just a single ticket, then it's 40. So that's what we did. And Eventbrite wrote up the language, and
I was going to put out a disclaimer.
that's why I was
Eventbrite it will say two for one, and it's actually 2 for 1, but Eventbrite makes you put 2, so don't get caught up in that.
You just look at the price. But yeah, it's going to be a fun event. I think it's going to be really, really a blessed night. And Jen Rose is also an amazing medium. And she's going to be on there with me. So you're going to have 2 of us doing readings for 2 hours.
And what's interesting is because both of you are there at the same time, do you sit there and go, okay, Jen's delivering this one and hold off until she's done? Or if you get something, do you go, oh, what about this? And do you guys tag team?
Okay, yeah. And you know what's interesting? We haven't actually talked about that yet. Jen, speak up. No, I'm just kidding. But we will have one person will read and then the next person will go, and we'll just flip flop back and forth. There is what you're talking about, tag teaming it and doing it that way. There are gallery readings that are set up that way too, where the mediums will just chime in. So it can be done either way. And it's a preference thing. It's not a right or wrong. We will double link tag team. Ooh, we're doing it. Okay, Jim just set the rules. I didn't even have a say. No, I'm just kidding.
No, but what's funny is what popped in my head when she said we can double link tag team. The song Tag Team in Effect started playing in my head.
That's reminding, I don't know why. Now you're getting me off on tangents. Hello. Now you're getting me off on tangents. Now I'm thinking about that movie where they played the tag movie or whatever. I don't know. Anyway, you know what I'm talking about with the guys where they have the game and they have.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I haven't seen that in a long time, but I don't know why when you said that, that's immediately what popped in my brain.
Yeah, and you've been on my show enough to know randomness just kind of goes with it.
Gonna flow. So is there, okay, I also wanted to say, if there's, how many people, can you tell how many people we've got watching?
We have 11 watching, but I don't know how many are actively able to comment in the chat room.
Okay, is there a way they could comment in the chat room and you can tell them how to get there if they're not?
Well, so if you go to, I believe it's live chat on YouTube, you can send messages there and they'll pop up on the screen. Rumble should be the same way. If you leave a comment, it should pop up. And X, I'm not sure about. We're newly on X again. And LinkedIn, I'm not sure if those comments come through. But Facebook, you should be able to comment and I can see it. But right now, from what I can see in the chat room, is everybody's in YouTube. So if you go to the YouTube live chat, type in, if you do me a solid and put your question for Tammy in all caps, I'll star them and we can get to them in order that they come in.
Yeah, and I'll let you. Can you monitor that since I don't have my YouTube pulled up?
I certainly can.
Perfect. Then I'll just focus on. Let's see, maybe I can. Oh no, I don't want to do that because then I'll
You
see. I'll just.
you just focus on being you.
Okay, I'll do that.
And one thing though, real quick, I wanted to comment about how you were saying, your style is different from others.
Mm-hmm.
One thing that I notice about you, and I'm
Uh
speaking about Jen as well,
oh.
because I've interviewed you both, is I think one of the things that why works so well with you both is you're authentic.
Aw.
It naturally comes. You don't make it anything more or less of what it is, and so you just deliver what it is, and you even will go as far as to, when you're questioning something, will
You are.
hold up your writing and go, see.
Yeah. Oh, you mean like when we're reading?
Right.
Yeah.
And so I think it's that authentic connection that pulls people in.
Aw, well, that's sweet. No, yeah, Michael's talking about like when I'm doing private readings, I automatic write. So what that is, and I'll just show you a quick example, guys. But for me, so automatic writing can be, it's basically when you just take pen to paper and you let spirit come through and kind of drive what you're doing on paper. Okay. So it could be in the form of drawing, like artwork. It could be shapes. It could be doodles. It could be words. It could be sentences. It could be pictures. Any of that where you're allowing spirit to come through and it's just working through you. So I do that. And what happens is my pen is going to paper and I'm doing this before and I'm getting it at the same time in my head, but I'm not getting what it means or where it fits. So I have to actually kind of put the two together and marry them, if you will, and follow the little breadcrumb trails. So mine looks something like this, which is just a bunch of scribbles and pictures and words and who knows. And Michael can attest to this, but it's like crazy how all of a sudden it's like doop, 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 doop. It's like connect the dots and it like makes this big, beautiful picture.
Yeah, especially her anchors.
My anchors are terrible. I can't draw. Stop. You guys, it's funny. I was like, I'm drawing an anchor. Is he in the Navy? And my anchor looks not like an anchor. I mean, it's an anchor, but rudimentary.
No, it looked like an anchor.
Okay, I don't know. I'm pretty hard on my drawing skills. They're not that great, but I've never had an art class other than in elementary school. So we're gonna keep trying to better that. That's funny.
Yeah. It's like I like to tell people, don't sell yourself short. It, as long as it's, I mean, when we were looking at it, it was like you could see the bottom had that little loop and the line. I was like, I would have instantly said, even if that's all you did, I would have been like anchor.
Yeah.
Because that's the base of what an anchor looks like that we were all taught. So I was like, I could see the base of where you were going with it.
And the bottle, that was the funny one with you.
Oh, yeah.
And the bottle. So I kept seeing this like a water cooler bottle, like the kind that the big round ones that have the lid that are heavy that you put on a water cooler. And I kept seeing this bottle like being filled with change. And your dad kept showing me that he did this. He filled this bottle with change. And I was like, why is he showing me this? What is the importance of this? But I'm like, all right, I'm just going to say it. And you were like, you did. Yeah, that was funny.
Yeah, and I'm not even gonna pretend to know how to pronounce this whole name. I'm just gonna say Kits.
Lahil?
Sounds good to me.
Well, we are sorry for butchering your name if we did. Kits. We're just going to call them kits. Do you know who comes through? Do you have to ask beforehand? Okay, so yes, I do know, and you know what? I consider myself a perpetual learner. So this is something where I am going to keep taking classes, I'm going to keep learning, I'm going to keep opening myself up and trying to get even better than I can be, because I want to be the best version of myself for you, for my sitter. So I'm going to keep trying to do that my whole life. That's just what I do. But can I tell who comes through? I can. Sometimes it takes me a while to get there, though. Sometimes I'll get a name. Sometimes it's, you get the name and you're right with who you're with. And it's like, there's no mistaking it because you just said their name. Sometimes it's a more of a feeling, like a clairsentient feeling, like I know this is a man that's here. And then as it gets more into the reading, I will be able to sense where the placement is. Like, this is your grandfather, or this is your grandmother, this is your aunt, this is your brother. Those things will come in. Sometimes it's really hard. Sometimes the spirit world doesn't want to share the relationship. So sometimes they're not giving me that bit, but they're giving me other things. And so the other things actually elude me or get me to where I need to be to know who it is. But there are times that I don't know. There are times that the sitter knows, because I'm giving you evidence that you know who I'm with. You know who this is because of the things that I've said, but I still don't. So every time I read, it's different. It's always different because my energy and the spirit energy are melding in the middle. And, just like in life, we get along with a lot of people, right? But then there's people maybe we don't get along with as well as we get along with other group of people. It's the same way when you're reading the spirit world. Sometimes the person that you're with perhaps you don't have the same frame of reference. You don't have the same background or culture or whatever. And you're having a hard time bridging that gap between the two to understand the references. And I may misinterpret the references. A lot of times if that happens and I misinterpret, the sitter actually knows who I'm with, and they know who this is because of the information given. And I could be misunderstanding or misinterpreting it, and they know why I'm misinterpreting it, because they know exactly what I'm talking about. It's just my reference didn't exactly fit what I said it meant, because to them it means something different.
Right.
So,
and sometimes I think when messages come through, in my opinion, I think some people get hung up in details. Like, you could have an image of a red truck, and you're like, so I see a red truck, and the point is that it's red, and that's what they're referencing. But if they just said red, you don't have a frame of what context. And so people are like,
right.
well, nobody I know had a red truck. And it's like, it's not the red truck, people.
Right.
It,
And a good example of that, Michael, is like a rose. How many many different references could a rose be? It could be a lot. It could mean love. It could be that your husband sent you red roses every single year for your birthday, and that was why it's important. It could be that you have a mother that had a rose garden out back, and that was her pride and joy, and she took care of it her whole life and kept it pristine and beautiful. And so there's a lot of different ways you can interpret symbols. And that gets into, as mediums, learning our symbols, communicating again with our guides and our spirit team to say, when you show me this, I need you to show me that to mean this. But yet still, again, like I said, if you make a rose love, that's pretty general. Like, typically when we're going to read for people, we're going to say they love you. Well, that's general. So what is the significance of the rose? Let's get down to the nitty gritty and find out what it really means. Where's the significance in it? What does it mean to that person? And that's where the references can be all over the board, because everybody has a different reference for a different thing.
right. Like, I could say a rose is peace, or
Yeah.
the state of Texas.
Yeah.
The
Whatever
yellow rose
it
of Texas.
is.
So,
Yeah. Yeah. So
yeah.
It's very complex and difficult to take what you're getting from them and then deliver the exact precise message that is meant by what that is they're showing you.
Right. And Marilyn has an interesting follow up to that. And she's asking, when someone wants a reading regarding a past family member, can you call the person specifically, or do others come through instead sometimes?
Okay, yeah, we'll talk about that. So, Marilyn, yes, I can do that, and I have done that many times. What I will tell you is that there are kind of two different types of reading. One is just going with the flow, and I always ask everyone to, when we do private readings, I say, is there someone that you were hoping to connect with? We can open it up and just see if they come through. And if they don't, then we can go what's called direct. Going direct means I can literally try to connect just to that particular soul. So when I ask people if they want to go direct and they say yes, all I ask for is the person's first name. That's all I ask for. And with the person's first name and the sitter in front of me or online, then I am able to tap into that energy using, of course, their name and the energy that's coming from spirit and the sitter in front of me, the link that they have.
Right. And it's also important, I think, to note as an experiencer, when you are looking to connect with the loved one and others come through, don't discount them, because they may be coming to share with you things that they're seeing that they want to help you with or bring your attention to. And if you're only focused on this specific person, you may miss out on some valuable information, in my opinion.
Yeah. Like I usually, most of my readings are let's just open it up and see who we get. Typically, people that want to hear from just a person are repeat sitters, people that have had readings before with me. We've already done that, and now we're back again, and they really want to connect again with their mom, or they really want to connect again with that sister that they lost. That is pretty much when I've done most of my direct reading, is when it's someone that's a repeat customer and they're now wanting just a little bit more to talk to that particular person. But I mean, leaving it wide open is really the best way to do it. That's how we do gallery readings as well. We leave it wide open. We do not do direct. It's who's coming in is coming in. And you're right, Michael. You're absolutely right. Like, the spirit world is very smart, and they know what they're doing, and they're going to only bring those messages to people that they know they need them right now. Not to say that you won't attend a gallery or an event and you don't get a reading. That doesn't mean your loved ones don't love you and they don't care and they're not there for you. That doesn't mean that. It just means that somebody else, some other soul, was at that firing gate quicker, or they had a more important message. And it's a beautiful thing, but I have definitely read before where someone is coming through and someone steps back. I feel an energy literally step back and offer the floor to another soul, because that person perhaps maybe has a message that they feel is more needed tonight. And it's beautiful, because that gives me a lot of hope and joy in knowing that even on the other side, that kind of compassion and love still exists.
Right. And one thing I'm curious about, and it's through my own personal experience of being in a gallery one time, was the person who was reading, and I won't say their name, but when they got someone and somebody said, "Yes, I can take that person," he starts to deliver the messages, and the person's like, "Nope, nope, nope." But he won't let go. Reader doesn't let go, and they just keep on until the person finally says, "Oh yeah, I got it." And I'm like, part of me gets a little annoyed by that in galleries because I'm like, how much time is this person eating up from other people?
Yeah.
But I understand how some readers are, they can't let go until it's received because the energy won't let go. So, my question to you and Jen, you can answer in the chat room if you are listening. How do you handle in a gallery situation when someone just adamantly doesn't want to acknowledge the information?
It's funny because in all of my studies so far, I have had opposing views on what to do with this. So I've had people say, if you're not getting anything and you're not getting anything, drop it in the bucket, move on. But then I've had people say, don't let them go because there's a message there and you got to find what the message is. But in your case, you're telling me that they've already found the sitter's person. You already have the connection. Um, and because the connection is there, the messages just aren't resonating. So in that case, I would have to tell you that if I've already given enough evidence to where my sitter or the person in the gallery is looking back at me and saying, yes, this is my person. Yes, this is my person. And then I begin to deliver a message or give them a message and it's, oh, no, 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 no. I would just tell them that they should probably sit with that information because there's something that's being missed. There's something being missed here. And it's very likely that the information that was just given in this message does in fact resonate. But there's this thing called psychic amnesia. And it happens to the best of us. Okay. And all that means is when you are put on the spot, when you are in a gallery reading and you're live, or you're sitting in front of a medium one-on-one, it's like everything is hard to think. And you're like, oh goodness, did that happen? Is that what happened? I don't remember. Oh my goodness. And so you're saying no because you truly in the moment don't remember or you don't know, but later it comes back to them. So that kind of sounds like what you're discussing. And I would just say, the spirit world is smart. They're very bright. They're very smart. They are not going to give you things that absolutely do not resonate. So it's there somewhere. It's just perhaps, again, maybe it was the delivery, or maybe it was the references. Maybe the reference was just a little bit off key, and that made the sitter think that everything was wrong. And in reality, they had just forgotten that, oh yeah, it's just the reference is a little bit different.
Okay, yeah, and Jen
What
agrees with you. Jen says, I agree with Tammy. Psychic amnesia is quite common. Many times the sitter will come to us after and let us know how the info fits.
Yep. And I get that a lot too.
Yep, and Tabitha says, I will politely say I will leave it with you to think about, and it may come to you later,
Yep.
and try to get another piece of evidence. And to me, that I feel like is the nicest thing to do for the gallery because everyone's there trying.
Right.
And it's like, I feel like when they don't let go, it's like you kind of leave feeling a little jaded because you're like, my time got eaten up by a lot of this no, no, no.
Right.
I don't get it. I don't. And it's like, come on. They don't get it. And so
Right.
it's, I mean, it's easy saying that in the sitter's position, but being the reader, it's not always that easy to let go either.
Hey, I've been a sitter. I've been I've been to many places and tried and hoped to get a reading and been in the same position you've been in. So I understand, and I think anyone would understand that everyone is hoping to get a message. Every single person there is just on bated breath waiting for their message. So yes, I can understand why it would be like, oh, come on, mister, you've been getting a reading for 15 minutes. We only got 10 minutes left. Hurry up. I get it. It's true. I tend to always try to follow kind of a little rule. I try to keep my gallery style type readings between 5 to 7 minutes um, per person, so that I can move along, like you said, and get as many people in as possible. I think a lot of advanced mediums as well have a way that they just have about them that they're able to communicate quickly with the spirit world back and forth and get enough information quick enough to get it there, and then say thank you. I want to leave you with the thought of your loved one tonight, and thank you for letting me read for you, and move to the next. But it is a definite discipline that you have to practice, and you have to continue to learn. You have to continue to like I do practice circles and things like that, just to kind of keep myself fresh and keep myself moving that way. It's definitely something I would say practice. You always hear practice makes perfect. Well, in this case, you really have to practice. Practicing is helpful. It's super helpful, and it helps you with your connection with your guides and angels.
I agree. And it's also, I feel like, trying to respect the time that it takes for everyone to connect and find the wavelength. And so, yeah, I think that's very eloquently said on how you go about that. And it's something that people just, I think some people think you can just walk up and flick a switch and be like, okay, here's your information that you're looking for. And doesn't always work that way.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it does. Sometimes it clear cognizantly just drops right in, and you have this big, well-rounded picture in 20 seconds. But sometimes it's a little. You have to work a little. Sometimes you have to work a little with them back and forth.
Yeah. Tabitha says, I once had a lady who kept saying no, no, no. And it was because she didn't want who I had. She wanted to talk to someone else, and it took me a bit to figure that out. Which, yeah,
Happen.
that's an interesting question. And didn't mean to interrupt you, but I was wanting to kind of piggyback and say, how do you handle and tell clients or in the gallery if someone comes through you don't want to talk to?
Mhm.
Let me know, and how do you handle that?
Yeah. So I basically will always give a little bit of background and instruction before we start a gallery. Typically, most mediums will do that. So we kind of welcome everyone and let them know this is how we're going to communicate tonight. And we'll tell them, listen, if someone comes through and you are not ready to hear from them for whatever reason, we don't need to know the reason, doesn't matter. All you have to do is say, I'd rather not hear from this person right now, and we will respect and honor that, and we will transmit that telepathy wise or however to them that, hey, they're just not ready for this right now, and we'll move on. So it absolutely can. There are certain things that can be triggers or traumas for people, especially when there's been a loved one perhaps that has passed that was an abuser, let's say. Okay, so there's a lot of things that go into this etiquette wise and ethically that mediums need to be aware of, and they need to understand that people are emotional sentient beings, and we have to be careful because this profession, this mediumship, if you call it a profession, is to do no harm. Okay, and harm can be done very easily when you're dealing with perhaps someone that has a loved one that passed that perhaps was an abuser, and they may just be trying to apologize. They may be trying to say, I'm so sorry and I've changed my ways and look what I did. And I need you to forgive me, because their healing depends on us healing as well. So it's a very, very complex thing, but I always would say pre doing the gallery, it's important to let people know that if someone comes through, they don't have to hear from them if they don't want to. So that is okay. That's understandable.
All right. And so before we switch over to the cards,
Yeah.
and let people give a chance to get their questions. One thing I've noticed that a friend of mine does when she does readings for cards, like gallery style, is the first thing she'll say is, "Okay, cards, what do you have for the audience today?" Like a general read to get started the flow of. So I was curious if you've ever done that, or Jen, if you've ever done that, to where you do a general reading and that kind of triggers people's to go, "Oh, yeah, let me ask about that," and questions start coming in.
I haven't pulled a card before a gallery reading, but I've certainly done pulled a card just to just to open a reading or do something like that in private. But I haven't done that for a gallery yet. And I'll tell you the reason why is because typically before my galleries, I am playing high vibration music and I'm letting the music do the work for me. And then I may actually have something that I say that gets everybody in their feels, so to speak. Like for instance, talking about, a rainbow, everybody's here tonight. We all have loved ones. Rainbows are gorgeous. They're beautiful. They, supposedly can take us to a pot of gold at the end or another realm. And I want everyone tonight to just embrace your loved ones, call out to them, let them know that you're here and you're waiting and you're receptive and you're wanting a message, and think about that beautiful rainbow, that bridge to the other side, and just something like that to get people in their feels. But I typically will do music and let the music do the work. And that way I can be getting in my mode too at the same time.
Right. And just to clarify a little bit, I was meaning like they do card readings on YouTube or Facebook Live, and so that's when they're doing the card readings, they do the general, not the mediumship style. And so that's what I was referencing when I was asking that of you. I didn't clarify which reading I was talking about.
Right. And I do read tarot and I do read cards intuitively. I read them a little different than tarot, but I do have my decks and use my decks to bring things in additionally. But most of what I do is not reading cards. It's literally reading from your loved ones. Psychic readings, I do use my cards for psychic readings, which is things about you, your past, present, future. I do use the cards for those readings. But again, it's kind of like a tool, a divination tool that I use while I do the readings, because I'm really connecting to the spirit world and connecting intuitively to guides and angels.
Okay, and we actually have our first question. So Super Dougie M says, I am 61 years old and 15 to 20 people have left my life in perhaps 4 months. Some I naturally dropped off after 25 years. Others not as smooth, me or them. What do guides and cards say is going on?
Okay, so let me understand this a little better. So you're 61, you have 15 to 20 people that have left your life in the last 4 months, but some have dropped off naturally off after 25 years. Okay, so you have many people in the spirit world. That's what I'm going to glean from that. And then you want to say, what do the guides or cards say is going on? Do you mean why so many people have passed in the last 4 months? Please clarify your question, Super Dougie M. There went one on the floor. Did you hear it?
Yep. And he clarified it saying 4 months or so, they are all alive.
Okay, so this is friends that have disappeared, that have kind of backed off, or okay, gotcha. I think that's what he's saying. So let me see what fell on the floor first, because that's going to be an interesting. Okay. The 10 of Pentacles. Okay. Okay. Here's what I'm feeling. Super Dougie typed you, or I wanted them gone. Okay. Or he wanted them gone. That's okay. Okay. I am pulling a lot of pinnacles, which pinnacles are our tangibles. They're our money, our assets, the things that make us comfy, our home, our our houses, the things that are tangibles, things that are actually here, this cup, like whatever. I'm not exactly sure why it is that money seems to have an issue or a play when it comes to friends and people hanging around, people not hanging around. But there's something in your makeup, in your consistency, that with friends, that money has got something to do with this. I know that for a fact. And I don't want to say it's like you have or don't have, because I really don't feel it's either or. I feel it depends on the friend, depending on maybe they were too dependent on you, and they were needing you for a reason or a season, and then suddenly it was like, oh yeah, done with that, don't need him anymore. If they left on their own. Now, if you were the one that decided to break the friendship off, then that to me feels completely different. So I'm going to wait for a comment here from him. To me, I keep getting, and I'm getting chills because I keep hearing over and over. Okay, but is there not necessarily like dollars, like money, but like something when I just said a minute ago about they needed something from you, or there was a reason that they were being like, okay, I don't want it to sound ugly, but it's probably going to sound that way. There's something about you that friends come to because it's like a needed necessity, like, oh, this guy will lift me up, or oh, this guy will help me here, this guy will help me there. You're like a very nice, kind person, and these people seem to find you very easily. I don't want to say use you, but in a way it's like you're needed for something, and then when that issue, whatever it is in life, is complete for them, or they feel like they now have a head up on the competition perhaps, or whatever it is that they need, then they may back off. So not necessarily the almighty, like literally a dollar bill, but that wealth, that knowledge, that guidance or friendship has been necessary for them, and then it's not, because whatever you were involved in together wasn't a thing for them anymore. Ooh, okay, and I pulled that too. Let's see. Did he say anything back?
Not yet.
Okay. It's kind of a very general question, so, and I think I'm understanding it, but not sure.
Oh, here we go.
Okay, yes. And I pulled the Emperor as well. And the Emperor is a person of stability. Okay, so this is someone that kind of always has their ducks in a row, or knows what they're doing, or can give good advice and knowledge. And that is exactly like what I'm talking about. That's you in the situation. And they come to you for that. And then when it's spent or it's exhausted because they've gotten what they need, they may fall off. As far as the flip of that, so many of them. Yeah, I can understand that. And, there's another thing too, Super Dougie. People are just, people get, bored with situations. So it's like they're seasonal. They're here for one season, gone the next. So that's just a matter of life, not necessarily a psychic reading, but that's kind of like just happens with people. I've had lots of friends over the course of time too that, they're super close, and then all of a sudden one day they're just not as close anymore. And there's no rhyme or reason. We didn't have an argument. There's nothing that happened. We just drift apart. In this case, I do feel like some of the friends that you've had have been natural reasons, but some of them have been because you have been a knowledgeable, stable person that they looked at like that in their life and then didn't need that guidance from you any longer. I was thinking it'd be astrological. Interesting. Well, it could be, I don't know your sign, and we would have to get into a whole nother discussion tonight to discuss astrological.
Yeah, so thank you, Doug, Super Dougie, and thank you, Tammy, for that. And we're at the hour, so do you have time for a couple more questions?
Sure.
So while we're waiting for other questions to come in, I actually have a question that I've been pondering, and that is,
ask your viewers real quick, Michael, and then I want to get your question too, but ask your viewers if someone has a connection with a mother with tulips.
Okay.
I've been getting this for like 10 minutes, and I've written it, and at first I heard it turnip, and then I heard tulips and a mom. And you can ask your question while they type in the chat if that's pertinent for anyone.
Okay. I sent it out, and my question is, I have written a book, and I got all the chapters done, and I was like drawn to it. But now that I got all the chapters, like all the events that I would share in that chapter done, it's like the thought of going back and making it fit like a normal chapter kind of makes me go, no, I just don't feel like doing that now. And it's like the whole drive behind the book has kind of faded to the side. So I'm wondering, is the way I did it the way it's supposed to be? Or was it just to get these onto paper and the book never was actually meant to be published? Kind of deal.
Or it could just be the timing. It could be maybe you need to set on it for a little bit and go back to it. Because that's what I just heard intuitively. I heard he's going to write this. It's going to be out someday, but right now he needs to set on it. He needs to set it back because you're getting burnt out. You're getting burnt out, and you don't want to go fit those pieces back in where they go. And Spirit's telling me, Michael, just sit on it for a little bit and let it set and rest and percolate, so to speak, until your drive and your energy is ready to go back, because the pieces that you were going to add in are important.
Okay. That makes sense. And so thank you for that.
So yeah, so I'm hearing that those pieces need to be put in, but right now is not the time, because if it's done right now, it's going to be done in haste because you just want to get through it because you're not in the right mindset. So you need to just let it set, let it percolate, and let your energy build back up to like wanting to go back in and really make it right, because that's what's gonna serve you well, is to make it right. That's what's gonna make you feel good too about producing it as a book.
All right. Yeah, and that makes sense, because I was like trying to figure out how do I, because I felt like the energy was already on the paper, and so then I was like, huh, now that I look at it, maybe this isn't like I normally write. So what? It's like, yeah, I got in my mind about it. So yeah, it's probably better that I wait till not so mental about it.
Yeah, let it percolate for a minute until you build that energy back up where you're excited about doing it.
Okay, and while we're still waiting for anyone to respond, Kit said energetically blocked, sorry, is a phrase I've heard before. What does it mean?
Um, your energy can get blocked for lots of reasons. The easiest way to have energy blocks, your chakras. We got to talk about chakras if we're going to talk about energy block. We have an etherical chakra. We have 7 chakras within our body, and those each are the Sanskrit word for wheel. Okay, so you want to think of these as energy centers within your body that are flowing and moving, and they're each moving in sync with each other, helping each other to move. So they're all connected. And if you have an energy block, so let's for instance say your heart chakra is blocked, okay? Perhaps you've had a trauma. Perhaps you had a really bad breakup with your boyfriend, and you are now in a position where you're just kind of bitter. You don't want to meet another guy. You're very upset about it. You're angry. You're working through it. You're trying to heal, but your heart center is blocked because you're not allowing love in anymore. You're guarding yourself and you're blocking because you don't want to repeat that tragedy, that trauma that you just felt with your boyfriend and you breaking up, for instance. So you can actually cause yourself to have energy blockages within your body, within your chakra system. And once the heart is blocked, well, that's going to wear on the throat, which is above it. That's going to wear on your solar plexus, which is below the heart. So everything isn't working in a cylindrical force that's just moving and flowing and ebbing together. Now we have one that's perhaps stationary or stopped or moving backwards against the flow of the others. And so it's all energy. And basically, that is what it means to have an energy blockage. So something that has occurred in your life, that's why it's so important to do shadow work and to journal and to actually, when you have issues and things that go on and happen in your life, the easiest, best way to like get it out of your system, right, is sometimes to yell at people. We don't want to do that though, right? We don't want to cause controversy or conflict with others. So get out a journal and write all that stuff out and get it out of your system, get it out of your head, let it go to the paper, and then release it to the universe and just say, you know what, I need to do better, or they need to do better. We both need to do better. This is the way it went down. I don't like it, but here it is on paper, and I'm going to let it go there. And I'm going to try to do better next time and look to everything with a renewed hope. And then, you can get your chakras aligned and working better that way. And then you're not having those blockages. Did that help? I hope.
I think you explained it very well.
I need
And
like examples so that it's easier to grasp, because it's all very metaphysical and hard to explain sometimes in simple terms.
I agree. And so that's why I was like, yeah, from metaphysically speaking, I was like, yeah, the examples you gave really made it clear. And they were great examples.
And here's another one. Let me give you one relating to a Taurian, Tauruses. I'm a Taurus, and our throat chakras are one of our strongest chakras. But at the same time, it's one of our weakest chakras because we have trouble sometimes with confrontation, or we have trouble speaking our truth. So that's a chakra with me that I'm very, very aware of all the time, because something happens, I immediately like, I don't want to say anything negative. I don't want to say anything bad. I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings. And sometimes we have to speak our truth to get past things. So that's an example of like Taurus. For me, I will get blocked in my throat chakra. And it's like, okay, I've been holding back, but now I'm blocked. And now if I don't do something about this blockage, I might just, say things I don't mean to say. So we have to constantly be aware of our body and our focus and our aptitudes, how we're feeling, our emotional level, and then not act on just emotion alone, but act on a well-rounded perspective.
Right, and that actually brings up an interesting I'm not even sure how this correlates, but it just popped in my head is when you're doing sessions and readings and galleries, do you find the weather has an effect on how the information comes through? Like, for example, in the paranormal community, we love when it's raining and storming outside because the water helps the energy come through more stronger. And so I'm curious with your experiences, and Jen, you can chime in too if you're listening. Does the weather affect the spirit world?
100%. Yeah, the static electricity and the electromagnetic energy um, definitely does. And I can also tell you from a paranormal investigator standpoint, which I do that. I can tell you that our equipment, some of our equipment, will even act crazy haywire when we have storms coming in. So that's another thing that, like, a lot of paranormal investigators need to be aware of, that there are certain pieces of equipment that will actually go off or detect more with the energy from static electricity. So the tripwire being one of them, like that's one. We have one, and we've been in situations where we've been in thunderstorms and it's just going bonkers. And literally I sent a message back to the maker of it, and I said, hey, is this the case with this? Is it going to be affected by the ions, by the atmosphere in a thunderstorm? And he said yes, it very well could be. So that's always another thing that you've got to be aware of and know, so that when you're on particular investigations and there's a storm coming in, be aware of that, so that you're not falsely advocating that this is paranormal activity when it's just really from the pending storm.
Right, that's very well said. And Jen says if the air is charged, say if a storm is coming in, it absolutely affects the energy of a reading. So it's interesting to see because I was like sitting here and we're in like the high 20s, low 30s where I'm at, and I know Tammy it's probably the same for you. And I'm wondering if the spirit world is like sitting over there going, couldn't you get a more tropic location for this? Are they, are they like,
Move to
man, it's cold too?
that's the beauty about the spirit world, honestly, because we, on this planet, in this 3D world, we have our bodies. We have our bodies. And so we are subject to cold, hot feelings, emotions, like all the stuff is on our bodies constantly. The spirit world, they don't have to worry about the cold or the heat because it's not necessary. It's not necessary. Everything that they need is right here in their soul, and it's all complete.
And I have a feeling I'll probably be one of them that when I rejoin the spirit world, probably gonna go on an all you can eat buffet and be like
You
not
can.
caring because it ain't putting nothing on.
Right. Go eat that chocolate mousse. Have that apple pie. Whatever you want.
Yeah,
That's
and yeah, so what is besides the February event? What else is coming up for you that you want to promote out?
oh,
Anything?
I know Jen has a lot of stuff coming up. For me, I've got February. Um, I have a lot of things that I'm working on right now for this year. So I'm finding some local places here in Oklahoma City that I can do the same kind of gallery readings, but live versions, so in person. Working on that. I'm working on my website, which I keep saying I'm going to get done one of these days. It's going to happen one of these days. But there's just been a lot going on with organization and getting things kind of like, oh, I don't know, pared down to what I really want to, how I want to, go forward, move forward. I've got a lot of paranormal investigations coming up too. So that's with my team. That's going to be a big thing. So gonna get us some interesting places this year, so that'll be fun too.
Very cool. And Jen, we wish you well with everything you got coming up. And if you want to slide any in, you can. Let's see. Robert's got a question coming in. Besides a cleansing, how do I keep a connection with another
Person's energy from
person's
over.
energy from over attacking?
He's
Carry.
if Zurite stone would help. Okay, how do I keep a connection with another person? Okay. First of all, Robert, I would say to you, when I do reading or when people come through, I have not had any attacks. I want to define your word attack, because for me that denotes something negative or overpowering or something that is unwanted. So if that is in fact what you are talking about, and there's a spirit that comes in and they just won't leave, or they're troublesome, they're annoying, they're giving you they're making you scared or fearful or issues or just something, that kind of a attack, then it's important as ever to use your authority. Take command. Do not be fearful. Fear is the worst thing you can do, guys. If you are fearful of the paranormal, if you're fearful of the spirit world, that drags your energy down. It brings you from a high vibration down to a low vibration. And being in a low vibration state is a gateway or an entry point where other things can linger and possibly come in. So you always want to take your authority back. Say, you are not allowed to do this. You are not allowed to be here. Have that intention. You believe it. It's not going to happen. You have to be very steadfast. There can be no, well, I think this might be an okay thing. If you're uncomfortable, if you are feeling fear or uncomfortable or like something isn't right, trust your gut, trust your instinct, and you just need to say, no, we're not doing this. I would say, as far as carrying a stone with you for that, any of the protective stones, hematite, great one. Black obsidian, also great. Numite, like I was talking about with the Numite bracelet that I wear, that one is a good one too. Any kind of black tourmaline, that's another one that is tremendously beneficial for dispelling negative energies, unwanted energies. Those are things that you can also put by your bedside. I have a black tourmaline at the front door and the back door. And the reason I do that is because we invite people in. People come in your home all the time, right? So when they're coming in, if they have a negative energy about them, and this is addressing living people right now. I know Robert's talking about spirit world, but that way it dispels negative energies that are walking in your front door. Yes, Numite. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
I had never heard of it, so I looked it up and I thought others maybe not either, and so wanted to make sure get the right thing.
Yeah. So definitely any of your root chakra crystals. So anything black, garnet is a good one. It's also dark. Red jasper. These are all crystals that can be used for protective measures to dispel unwanted energies. And Robert, I know he knows this, but you can always, and it's not a fix for everything, and it only works. These things too, guys, they're intended to be divination tools. Okay. They're not intended to be crutches. They're not intended to be, like I have right here. Here's my angelite heart. Do I believe that this angelite heart helps me to connect with my guides and my spirit team? I have that intention. So I think that this heart that's what I intend it for. So intention is incredibly important, incredibly important. However, don't use them as a crutch. Don't think that you have to have that or all is lost, because again, we all go back to the intention behind the tool.
I wonder, in metaphysics, we have a thing called cutting cords.
Mhm.
And if that is something that he could do to help. And one thing I've learned from working with someone was state that I want to cut the cords with this person, and any contracts that I may have with this person, I have no knowledge of. And that was a new thing for me because I was like, I never knew you could have a contract
Unintentional.
with someone without knowledge.
Yeah, it happens because you can unintentionally invite stuff in. You can unintentionally think a thought, but not really grab onto it, but yet it already created a tie or a cord because you had the thought. The thought form itself creates the tie. And it may have been unwanted. You may have not have wanted that or realized you invited it, but you did. So nobody's at fault in that case. But again, own your authority, take it back, and just say, I don't need this. I don't want this. I didn't intend this. Like you said, Michael, I break any and all prior thought forms, contracts, anything you may have thought, exactly like you said.
Yeah, and thank you. And Jen says, thank you. I've got a free class coming up this Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time online called the Spiritual Tune Up. Become your own soul mechanic. I like that. That sounds so cool. Soul mechanic.
Mm-hmm.
Tickets available on eBrite.
Yep.
There you go.
And I used to teach crystal classes actually, and I still have my curriculum, and I would love to start teaching them again, but I kind of got to where there was like not really an interest, and this was pre me kind of getting many years under my belt of doing this as well. So I would be interested in doing those again too. And I think I'm going to maybe put a flyer out or something and see if there's an interest. And if there is, I might have to do those. Might have to start those back up. Because there's been a lot of talk lately about crystals and how we can use them. And it's a wealth of information. Oh, thank you, Jen. I think Jen took my first crystal class, like ever, like the first one I ever did.
Yeah, and there's two from Kits real quick that I think are worth mentioning, and I feel like can be short answers because I know we're getting close on time.
Yeah.
And he says, how long can intention be put into an object? Do you need to top up? Or I
Yep.
guess in American terms is top off, like
Re-up.
yeah.
Yeah. Yes, you do have to top up. You do have to do that. So I will just share with you. I don't know if you can see it in my screen. There's actually a crystal grid right back there where I'm pointing on this tray. It's on a little stool, and I have a crystal grid for health and wellness on this tray back here. And yes, you first of all, you have to cleanse and clear your crystals. Okay. So when you're going to use them with intention, the first thing you need to do, because think about it, you go into a store, you have 4 crystals in a little bin, and how many people's hands have been in there touching the crystals? A ton, right? So we need to clear the energy first from the crystal. So you can clear them different ways, and it depends on what crystal it is. If it's a like Numite, has an ite, Labradorite, any of those kind of crystals, you definitely just want to not expose to water as much as possible. So you can do a quick rinse off in a little warm soapy water just to get them clean, or you can put them in a bowl of brown rice, cooked brown or not cooked, but just brown rice, set them in the bowl, leave them overnight. There's some crystals are better to be put in dirt and like actually bury them overnight. Some you can do a selenite charging plate. Simple. So this one right here, I'm just going to pull it because it's close. This is my selenite, and it has like a little chakra. I know you guys can't see those, but it has little chakra symbols. You can kind of see it. And this one is a great one that I always leave on my chair over there. And you can just put your crystals on top of that and it will clear them. It will cleanse them. So that's a quick little tip for people that are like needing something quickly, like, oh, I didn't have time to clear this. I don't have time to get some selenite, set it on the selenite. It will do the trick for you. So cleanse your crystals, important. Number 2, you have to charge your crystals. Charging can be done under a full moon, under the moonlight, the sunlight. There's a number of ways. All of this information is available on, just by Googling, but you'll want to cleanse, you'll want to charge. And then once they're cleansed and charged, that is when you add your intention. What is it that I am wanting this crystal to do for me? What am I wanting this crystal to represent? That's when you do that. And then in addition to that, once you have set your grid or you've used your crystals and charged them like I have back here, they will sit there and collect dust. They will get stagnant. They will lose their energetic charge. So yes, you need to re-up them and cleanse them and charge them again and re-up them. And I would say for me, I do mine usually about once a week. If I have a crystal grid sitting out, I'll try to do it about once a week. You can leave them longer. You can do it shorter, but there's no right or wrong answer. I will just tell you though, if you're working with energy and you have something that's been sitting there stagnant for a week or two, you're definitely probably going to want to give it its best amount of energy by re-energizing it before you do another. Definitely if you change intentions, absolutely. If you're keeping the same intention and you're just re-upping it, then it's okay to go a little bit longer.
Very cool. And Kits has another question, and I might chime in on it and see what you think. And that is, I heard hatred and resentment causes a cord to form. I don't know if it's true. So, hatred and resentment can cause a cord, but so can joy, love. Every emotion can cause a cord. What you're doing is when you're cutting cords is you're setting the intention of cords that no longer serve me or are not beneficial are to be cut. So what that means is like my mom and I could have a cord together. Well, that cord is formed out of love, so there's no reason to cut it. There's mutual respect between us. Now, if you're in a relationship and your loved one is, quote unquote toxic or not, doesn't treat you right, you are totally able to cut that cord and see if that causes changes in the person that you cut the cord with. So, yes, it is true, but it's not the only way cords can form. Do you want to add anything, Tammy?
Yeah, I will add one thing, and you're not wrong about any of that, but cords form for all kinds of reasons. Cords form just when you can meet someone, a stranger on the street, and have a few wonderful sentimental words and be very kind and say, oh, have a great day. And with no intention to know that that person is going to be around tomorrow or the next year because you don't know them. You just met them in passing. And yet still a cord can form from that because you just had this interaction with another human being where you shared the same sentiments, you shared the same thought processes, the same love, whatever it is. So there can be a cord form with people that you don't even really hardly know, and you walk away and you formed a cord, but you don't know it. So it can even happen like that. And I will also say that sometimes when you form cords, like you're talking about with you and your mom, and it's like just a love cord, right? It's mom and you, and you've grown up with mom and you've taken care of mom and mom's taking care of you, and that love is present and it's there. That cord can actually too. I've had someone come to me for a Reiki session and they were starting to pick up on every emotion that each other had. Okay. So like mom would get upset, not and daughter would be upset, but she wouldn't know it. And then she'd figure out, oh, it was my daughter. She was upset. I have this tie with my daughter. And we're so close that we're literally finishing each other's sentences and we can't get past each other's emotions. And it's starting to be a little bit cumbersome because we're constantly just back and forth with each other. But we are independent people and we need a little bit of space. So I've even had someone come to me before, and mom and daughter, and do a Reiki session so that we could cut some cords between them without severing them. Okay. So we weren't going to sever the cord because we don't need to do that, but we were going to release some of that little bit of that cord to give them some distance so that they weren't so attached that it was starting to be an issue between the two of them.
Very cool. And I know we're at an hour and 30 minutes, but
Yeah.
somebody has just popped in just now with a question that I'm feeling like is something that is kind of feeling like an important question. So I don't know if you feel like you have time to take it or not, but
Go ahead. Hi,
she
Cindy.
says, I have intense vibrations and pulsations while meditating. That no longer happens. Am I losing something, or is my chakras cleared or aligned?
Okay, so yeah. So I have heard of this happening before with many people when they first begin to do meditation, that they have vibrations or pulsations or sensations, or it's uncomfortable, or they get nauseous, or even have headaches. Okay. All of those things are because you were starting to clear. So you're correct. You didn't lose anything. Nothing is lost. I think the fact that you've been meditating for a while, your body gets used to it and it's able to handle the energy better. So you were clearing out all of that negative, all of the stuff that needed to go. And that's what you were feeling. The vibrations and the pulsations were the energy exuding out of your body, your physical body, to make room for the good stuff.
Okay, very cool. And with that, I'm going to say the chat room question session has come to an end. And
Nobody claimed tulips. I'm upset. There's something with a mom figure and tulips for sure. And she's been here for a while. So that's okay, though.
okay.
Cindy, you're welcome.
Well, thank you, Tammy, for coming on. And one thing I will say in full transparency is I know if you had watched my end of the year episode, end of season 2, I had announced a different guest coming on tonight, and they had a schedule conflict come up. And so Tammy was very kind to be able to make it tonight and graciously gift us with her time. So thank you so much for that, Tammy. I do truly appreciate you and grateful for you.
You are more than welcome. More than welcome. I appreciate you too.
And thank you to the chat room and for all the beautiful messages that came in. Thank you, Jen, for chiming in and participating. And with that, I am going to say goodnight to everyone. And I am going to bring up the new season 3 outro.
All right,
So,
cool.
good
See ya.
night, everyone.
Bye, everyone. Thanks for dropping in.